Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. Another Neo Geo. I think it's another 1FZ actually. Yeah, it is. Neo MVH MV1FZ. So as you can see, this one's got a few issues. It's got VRAM there. I think I might have done that actually. Yeah, my bad. I kind of treated these as spares boards and I thought I'll just get that RAM off there, and I was a bit impatient. One pin, one trace there just came off. I didn't care at the time, but actually, yeah, in retrospect, that was a mistake because I'm sure I can get this working again. So someone's been tinkering around there. I think that won't have been me. So yeah, we can have a look. It's going to have a backup RAM fault probably, but obviously it's got a VRAM missing. So the first thing I'm going to do is socket that up. We'll stick a wire link. I'll need to trace where it goes through. Probably one of the vias going to the B1 or the LSPC. Over here, I forget which, but anyway, I can do that. I can work out where that pad, you can just about see it there, there's a red arrow. I must have drawn that. Yeah, I'm sure I did that. Yeah, so I'll get a socket on, patch the wire up. I won't put the chip in. We'll do the diagnostics on it. It should report the VRAM. I think it's going to report the backup RAM as well, but we'll see then if we put a chip in there, if that fixes that, then we're just left with the backup RAM issue, and we'll have a look at that. So I'll try and show you the damage up close. Can you see this bit of copper here? What I've done is I've just scratched this because there's a trace under that white part of the silk screen there that comes up and is supposed to go to this pin. And as you can see, the top part of the pad lifted there and the trace came off with it. So yeah, all I've done is, like I say, it's broken off here because there was the bit, I could have attached it again, but it'll just come off. So yeah, cut it off here, scratched off there a little bit to expose the copper. And I think the way I'm going to approach this is use some of that very fine transformer winding wire I've got. It's just as thick as that trace. I'll join it on here, but before I do that I'm going to feed it through this hole. And then all I'm going to do is put the socket on and solder the pin from the other side, as normal. And the wire having gone through it will join, as long as I melt the covering on that wire. It's very, very, very fine stuff, but the covering should melt and should join the pin, and we should have a proper join with the socket, because there's no other options really. The only other option, if you follow where that goes, it goes under here, it comes out, and I think it's one of these three vias here, and it comes up here to the LSPC. There's no via, so yeah, I mean, what can you do? You could attach a wire there and bring it down and again tuck it through the hole or something like that, but you're doing the same thing. So I think yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. So I'll try and show you this as I've done it. Can you see we've got the wire just joined up there onto the trace? If I pull the wire, you can see it's joined up. So all I need to do now is feed it through the second hole there. So you're barely going to be able to see that. Can you see I've fed it through there? I've unblocked the holes on this side and just cleaned off the flux and stuff with some IPA. So if we carefully try and get this socket in position, we might have one or two block holes down here. Yeah, that hole there's a bit blocked, so let me try and unblock it. So if you remember in the previous video I mentioned some variations between boards. I mean, you can see that here, this has not got the that little revision thing, so this must be one of the earlier 1FZs, and it's got the silk screen again here. I need to clean this up. And do you remember the pins here on the amplifier were super long? They're not on this one. Yeah, over here, look at the YM261A here, look at the length of those pins there, and they're bent all over the place. So I need to straighten those out a little bit. But it's interesting now, some of the pins get trimmed and some of them don't. Good God, what's happened there? Yeah, the pins on the BIOS there have all been squashed over at different angles as well. They're quite long. So I might just trim some of those off, or certainly straighten them out. And serial number, I mentioned serial number etched into the PCB. No serial number. I'm presuming on this board it was perhaps stuck on there. So I'm going to clean this up now. I'll remove this foam stuff here and clean it all up with IPA because it's just awful. I wouldn't want to leave that on there like that. And I'll just give the board a general clean. Can you see how dirty and discoloured it is around here? Yeah, on the back connects there, look how long those pins are there. They're really long. These ones are all cut down. It's bizarre. I need to get that out, whatever that is, some contaminant. But yeah, this PCB, as you can see, it's super dirty. There is actually a serial number hashing to the board. I'll show you in a minute, but you can see how dirty this is. It's absolutely filthy, this board. So let's see what it's doing to start with. Switch it on. Got the diag ROM in here. So yeah, VRAM address. I thought we had VRAM faults. I vaguely remember that from when I originally tested it. If I hold down select and start to reset, hold down A, B, C, D, and then we go into the individual tests. Let's do palette. That looks okay. Yeah, passes. So the palette's okay. So I mean that aspect of the 259, the 74HT259 can rule out. Although there could be a problem with the output related to VRAM. Let's test the VRAM. Again, that looks alright, I think. Yeah, passes. Passes. Now, bear in mind it's got one VRAM missing of the 2K type. So if we test the 2K one, we should get an error here. Yeah, there we go. Address 8000, actual 00FF, expected 0000. So the FF there is coming up because we've got a chip missing. It's reading it as highs when there's nothing there. So we've got both VRAMs populated. Switch it on. We're going to get the backup RAM error again. So let's hold down A, B, C, D and select and start. And let's do VRAM 2K. Passes. Yes. So that little fix there with that wire solved that. So it is just a backup RAM fault. So I think the next thing I'll do is get the logic probe onto the 74HC32. We'll just see what we can see with that. Because it may well, let's just do the backup RAM test again. It may well just be the actual RAM. Yeah, actual FFAA, expected FFFF. So that's the lower backup RAM. So I'd need to check which way around connected to the CPU, because I can never remember between RAM 3 and RAM 4 which one's the lower and which one's the upper. But in theory, the whichever those RAMs is connected to. Yeah, I'm thinking it could be the HC32. I mean, we've got a low there, that's correct, but it's a weak low. A stronger low on pin 2, and then pin 3, nothing, nada. That should be outputting a low. And then we've got nothing, a high, so we should get a high, that's correct, that's the ground pin. And on this side, what have we got? We've got a high, nothing, and a high, 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 and a high. Yeah, the fact this is not out, that first gate there is not outputting anything at all, it's like high impedance, makes me think that that gate's faulty. But we've got a very low, weak, low input there, which I find strange actually. That first pin. Yeah, you might just be able to see this. So I printed off my diagram from the previous video. Pin 1 is a high, as you can see, that's the input to that 7404. So the second pin should be inverted, we should have an inverted output, hang on. And we do, you can't really see that. It's like a super weak low. Sorry, that's the next pin. Yeah, you can't really see this very well, it's a super weak low. It barely even registers there on the second pin. So either the HC32 is dragging it down, or we've got a faulty 04 actually. I might just swap that 04. Yeah, we'll swap that 04. I found an 04 off a junk board actually. It's not a Neo Geo board, it's off something else. But it is suspicious that the input's a nice strong high, pin 1 there, and on pin 2 is very, 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 very weak. And by the time you get over to the HC32, it doesn't even register. It's like it's high impedance. But I've tested connectivity, and there's good connectivity there. From pin 2 on the 04 to pin 1 on the HC32. So yeah, I think this is our first bet. There we go. She's free. So I've tacked a couple of the corners there to get some solder. Got some flux on there as well. and we'll just dab into these. It's that awful flux again. I've just had a delivery actually of some chip quick flux. I should be using that, but I mean, it's not too bad, this fake Amtech actually. It's not too bad. A bit more solder, I think. That ROM's getting in the way, at a funny angle. Let's just turn the board like that a bit and make it a bit easier. Yeah, there we go, that's easy. Just give it a bit of a... Yeah, I think that's okay. I think we just need to remove the flux. Yeah, I'll clean up and we'll give that a try. Yeah, swapping that 04 solved that problem actually, because can you see down here now, pin 1, before we're having nothing, look at that, we've got a nice strong high. Pin 2, low, pin 3, high. Yeah, and the error's changed. So we've got address 0, actual 0000, expected 5555. That could now indicate the HC32 actually. I'll continue probing around the HC32. So where does this leave me? Well, it's certainly the upper and the lower. You know, both bytes are not right there. I did just probe the HC32, that looks okay. Probed the 04, the new one on circuit, that looks okay, I think. I mean, I'm not seeing it changing state, but it's inverting correctly with respect to the stationary inputs. So I'm thinking that both those SRAMs, it is more common for both the SRAMs to fail. We've got nothing to lose. I'll swap one of them over to one of those ones off that previous board actually, which I think work okay. And we'll just see there if it changes. I'm thinking if we change, say, the lower one, we should see the lower bit with 55 and the upper bit with 00, if you know, if that's the case. There we go, chip removed. So if you remember in the previous video, these sharp SRAMs on that previous MVS there were pretty mangled actually. The pins were a bit bent on them. So I've straightened them out as best as I can, removed the solder from the underside using some flux and solder braid. I'm just now trying to flatten them just to make sure they're as flat as possible. But hopefully you can see, hopefully. Yeah, it's not too bad. There's just one or two, I forget what they are, I think on this side here actually, that, yeah, they're not perfect. But that's about as good as it's going to get, I think. So we'll have a go at mounting that now. And as you can see, I've removed the solder from there, so we'll just get a bit of flux and we'll get that in place. The worst case is I have to swap it out for a brand new chip. There's nothing lost. I do like to try and reuse what I can where I can. And this might be a good example of where I've took something off and thought, oh, you know, it's faulty, and actually it's not. I do think there was enough evidence there, if you like, in the fact that the HC32 was faulty in that previous video there, and the fact that these have been swapped over from somebody else into that other board to suggest that these probably are okay. They probably aren't the issue. They've probably been taken from the work RAM area or pallet RAM or somewhere on another board where the other boards had a different fault. That's what I think. So as you can see, I've anchored one corner. Now the idea now is to use a fine tool and just bend, you know, micro move any pins that are slightly misaligned. They're not too bad actually. Yeah, they're not too bad. There's just the odd one where I'll move it like 1/4 of a millimetre. Yeah, a good example is that pin there. Can you see? It's kind of more to the right than in the middle. That one's centred, pretty much centred. Maybe that one a bit to the left. Yeah, the others look okay. There's just one or two right down here that are a little bit left. But yeah, that one maybe, I don't know, but that's what I'm going to do, just move them a little bit. So there we go, with that sharp SRAM. The only thing that worries me there is the address. We've got an address instead of being at 0000 like it was before. We've moved up, but you can see now 1/2 is matching. 00 is correct. So FF, yeah, it would indicate that the upper, the lower is the one that's faulty. So I'll just check that. If that's correct, I'll swap the other SRAM out. So I've removed that RAM as well and cleaned up. I need to remove some of the excess solder from the anchor points on this one, the corner points, and I'll clean it up super clean later. But I'm just going to do the same thing. I'll clean up the old chip that I took off that previous one I've said, because I suspect that's actually okay, the sharp chip. I think the Toshiba one was faulty, and we'll give that a go. So just thinking about this, the error we've just been getting actually relates to the RAM I've swapped, RAM 3. So if I switch it on, I've took RAM 3 off completely, there's no RAM. Just to prove a point, and you can see there, VRAM dead output's lower. So the error we're getting there at specific addresses was actually related to that SRAM. That's why it moved up from 0 to whatever address was coming up a minute ago. It wasn't to the upper, it was the lower. So I need a replacement lower. Now bear in mind I took 2 chips off here. One of them I think seemed to be okay, didn't it? Perhaps the second one. So that's the mistake I've made. Now the problem I've got now is I don't know which one was which when I swapped them around. So I just need to find a good known working one. It just goes to show though that one of those sharp chips from the previous board was faulty actually. Yeah, assuming we're not getting a red herring and something else is giving that, but I don't think so. I do think we're getting a legit error at specific addresses actually. So the best way to remove this stuff is just to soak it in IPA, and you'll see when these edgy bits here are coming up in bits, but as you peel a piece off you should be able to, at some point here, start to come up now, grip it, can you see that? And it just frees the adhesive from underneath, the whole thing just comes off. Otherwise you'll just have loads of little bits, as someone had done previously. You know, someone tried to remove this and they hadn't used anything to weaken the glue there, and it just comes up in little bits and it's really messy to get rid of that way. So yeah, IPA is your friend. Much in the same way you can use IPA like that to remove hot glue. It just gets under there, under the very edge, and then it frees up as you remove it. There we go, all cleaned up, all of the black gunk removed there. So I swapped over to the other RAM. I think these RAMs are bad actually, and it does seem to be indicating this RAM at the moment. So I think I'm going to wait until I get some brand new, hopefully working SRAMs, and then I'll swap that one out again. And hopefully that should solve the final remaining problem with this board. I mean, we've not tested sound yet, but there's no reason to suggest that there would be a sound error. It's just, I think it's just got this backup RAM error, and the VRAM was obviously previously removed there because it was used for spares. So that was a bit of a waste of time. I cleaned up this bridge here thinking this was for that board, but I don't think it is. This is a Neo MVS slot 1A, and it's got an IC here. I'm pretty sure the 1FZ doesn't have an IC there, so that's not the right bridge. I need to go and see if I can find the correct one. Yeah, that's the one we want. There's no chip on it. You can see it's and it's got a different code, Neo MVS slot 1FZ. Look at the state of those. They're really corroded or oxidised, one of the two. So yeah, I'll clean that up. It's got some fluff and stuff, long bent pins again. You've got to make sure they don't short. I'll start with the top side there. Actually, we'll just do that because I'm interested to see is there any actual corrosion in there. Sometimes they go green. Hopefully it's not going to be too bad actually, it might just be cosmetic oxidisation. Yeah, it's not bad. I think it's just a bit of oxidisation actually, if you look at that. So I've got Unibars in there, and we've got a cart in, King of Monsters. So you'll see we do get the standard backup RAM error still there, and it's the upper byte again still, because obviously I've not swapped that chip out yet for a decent one. But you've got options there, B to force AES, so if I hit B, and hopefully that should now boot, and it is doing, King of Monsters 2. And I think that's working. So I'll connect some headphones up, have the volume right down, just to test I've got sound, but I suspect this one will be 100% functioning as well. But as you can see, it was worth, so it's a bit blurry there, isn't it? It was worth cleaning up the slot there as I did, because it worked first time. That was the problem I had with the last one. It's always worth cleaning up. And I didn't show, but clean the other side that connects on the MVS board itself as well. I cleaned those with a toothbrush just the same, and it worked first time. So it's perhaps a bit early to call this one a success, but can you hear that? So let's start it. Yeah, sounds okay, I think. Sweet. So whilst we're waiting for those SRAMs to arrive, we'll have a look at this one. This one's got a bit of history here. As you can see, repaired, sold by Phil Morris, May 2008. Arcade relics at irongiant.org.uk, and there's a phone number there. I might get in touch with that chap, see if he remembers anything about this board. Anyway, it's a 1F this, I think. Yeah, MV1F, you're not going to be able to see this. I'm going to have to lift the camera. It's a pretty big board. As you can see, it's yeah, MV1F. It's got the traditional Z80 on there, dip 40 instead of the surface mode one. It's got the P-dip 68,000, so that's different to the other ones that got the PLCC. And it's got a Neo B1 and LSPCA2, which is surprisingly, I thought this would have the Pro chipset, but it doesn't. It's got C1 up there as well. So you can see around the battery area, yeah, at some point it perhaps did start to leak, but someone's took it off just in the nick of time, I think. Now this was described as faulty spares or repair. So I'm just curious, I'll get the UniBIOS in there in a minute, and I'll clean up the cart bridge first. I'll show you that in a sec. It's a different type of connector, 3 different connectors there. I mean, the centre one's the same as the other boards, but they've used the same type, just longer there for the others. So I'll, like I said, get the UniBIOS in there and we'll test it with a game to see what it's doing. But before we do that, we'll test out the cart bridge. This has got a cap on it actually, there, 470 microfarad, and a couple of little inductors there, 47 microhenry. That's interesting. So yeah, it's going to be much the same thing actually, although I can't really clean those. I think I'll assume they're alright actually. We'll just clean the slot. So I've cleaned up the slot, but it's also worth pointing out on this one, you've got controller ports already on here. That's what kind of makes the 1F super appealing to consoles, because you can just plug your controllers straight in. And you've also got outputs here for speaker and headphone, and then you've got the connectors here, I think. So yeah, these are, even though it's a large board, I mean it is a pretty big board, the quality of these I like. It's you know, it's one of the earlier ones I think, and you can tell it looks reminiscent of the MV4, the 4 slot there. It's the same sort of quality of PCB and the old AESs actually. So I do like these this particular revision. It's really nice, gold plated connectors there as well. They seem to change that for solder on the later revisions and things. But we'll connect this up now and see what happens. Well, that's interesting. This was described as faulty spares or repair, and straight away we've got the crosshatch up there, so I'll switch it off. You know, if there was a backup RAM error like the other board, that would have appeared straight away, and it didn't. You know, I might need to find something to support the cart, because I've got the feeling it's not going to make a good connection. Oh, it is doing, but it's, yeah, it's not ideal. Let me just see if I can support the cart up. That's looking better. Yeah, all I did is put a cart underneath the cart because it's, you know, sort of sagging downwards because I've not got the plastic around it. But it looks like that's actually working. I'm amazed that was described as, let's say, faulty spares repair. I will keep that one because, yeah, I quite like the board. So I'll connect sound up and we'll try that. Did you hear that? That's not right. It's like we're missing something. Let's just see if we've got samples. I think we have. I think we've got samples. I think the PCM side's alright. It could be the... I don't know, I was going to say the DAC, I'm not sure. So this is a Magician Lord, there's nothing wrong with it. Hopefully you can hear it. Yeah, I've got the dual boot option here, so when I switch it off and on really quick, it changes to the AES version. But you can hear, sounds fine. You can hear it, sounds fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, so it was this switch that was causing that. It was in the stereo position, and this is only passing mono, although this is a mono stereo switch as well, the Supergun. So I could have switched the Supergun over, but that was why it sounded really weird. Then when I first booted Magician Lord, I will say that it wouldn't work at all. I had to clean my Magician Lord cart, then it booted up. But I had what I thought was a DAC problem. One particular sound was sounding really strange, and all I did is unplug the cart, plug the cart back in, and it's perfect. So I actually don't think there's anything wrong with this 1F at all. So trying that now with the original mask ROM BIOS. You can see that's the normal thing you'll see with the Neo Geo. You know, we've not got a UniBIOS in here at the moment. And I'll have to press the credit button to credit this up on the Supergun there. But that's working. I did test all the controls there for player 1 and player 2, and they're both fine. Sounds fine, it's stable. I've been playing this for a good 20 minutes, no issues at all. So I'll just put that one in the collection. It's yeah, nothing wrong with it. So the next one here is an MV1A, manufactured on 19th of 6th 1995. That's interesting. They don't all have a date like that. So it looks very much like a 1FZ actually. Some components from the same place. You've got the Yamaha up here. It's looking a bit oxidised, corroded. The pins on there. You've got some of these Neo Buff chips. Yeah, these were an inclusion I don't like actually. I forget whether it's a 244 or a 245, 74LS244 or 74LS245 that these replace, two of. So you've got two of them within each chip. I prefer separate ICs because you can swap them really easily, but yeah, there's a few of those. There's 2 or 3 there. There's one up here, one down here. Your backup RAM and your work RAM are in the same place as a 1FZ. You've still got your HC32 down here and your clock chip, your 4990, whatever it is. I don't see a C1. We've got a Neo D0. There's your Z80. What's that? That looks like a ROM. That's the ROM for the Z80. It's the surface mount type on this board. There's your RAM for your Z80. You got your those are the pallet RAMs. They're marked PAL 1, PAL. Oh, there's PALs. Those are PALs actually. PAL chips. Yeah, that's interesting. There's a couple of PALs on here. Yeah, so I'm not sure what's what there now. We've got a couple of RAMs here, RAM 7 and 8. So those are graphics RAM. Those are graphics RAM. Could be 2 more somewhere. Yeah, you got another mask ROM up here. Neo IO is that? Yeah, I'm curious about these PALs here. And they are marked PAL. It's not pallet. Don't confuse that with anything to do with the pallet like I did. They are actually PALs. Neo F0. Yeah, so there's a lot of more. So there's more consolidation going on because you've got a Neo MGA-T there. So that's replacing some of the other stuff on here. I'd be interested to see what this is. Is this a Neo GRC or something else? Yeah, I think it is. I think that's a Neo GRC. Can't quite read it. But again, consolidation. You've probably got like the B0 and the LSPC merged into either that chip or this chip. And there's no C1, so I'm guessing that's going to be merged somewhere else. And I think that's why we've got all these Neo Buff chips around, because it is a different chipset. Anyway, we'll give this one a try. I'll get the UniBIOS on there. I've tested it with the diagnostics ROM, can't find a fault, so we'll put the UniBIOS on and just see whether it'll boot a game and whether they've got sound or not. Yeah, on this one it seems to work, but I'm not getting any sound. Nothing at all. Nada. So I'm suspecting Z80. This does actually have a fault, this one. I think this is the Z80 probably. So I'll just show you the diagnostics, let it run through a normal pass, all tests passed. But we've got the Bang Bang Busters on there. It says hold down D, so we'll hold down D. Then I'll do a soft reset with select and start. Z80 slot switch ignored. SM1. SM1 otherwise looks unresponsive. If MV1-B1C soft reset and hold B, well, it's not either of those. Start to continue. So Z80 slot switch ignored. SM1 otherwise looks responsive. So something wrong with SM1. Is that the ROM for the Z80? It could be. I'm not sure. So let's press start to continue. Z80 dead, errored, com issue, expected C3, actual 53, Z8 report error code 13, YM2610, unexpected IRQ. So we could have a faulty YM2610 there, I'm not sure. Might just inspect the board for connectivity issues. Yeah, so this one with the sound problem, I think we'll look at this in another video. I'm suspecting the Z80, although it's going on about the SM1, which is the ROM here, that's something to do with the latch in it or something, and then it's saying there's an unexpected IRQ from the YM2610. That could indicate a problem there. I find it hard to believe you'd have a problem with the Z80 and that, but anyway, yeah, it will be a separate video. So it's been a number of weeks this board has been sat around waiting for RAM, and I just wanted to double check where we're at. So you'll note that previously we replaced the that 04 that was faulty. There was a gate on there faulty, and we fitted a VRAM and dealt with some damage on the board there related to that, and swapped the SRAMs around. Now at the time I only had sort of spare ones from other boards that had been jumping from board to board as part of other repairs and things, and I wasn't sure on the status of them actually, and I suspected that 2 or maybe even all 3 of them were faulty. And I think we proved that actually just from the swaps I've done within this video. So one of them up on there now I think is good, and you can see this is the error we're getting now. So the upper bytes, you know, the first byte there, FF, is where we've got a difference. We're expecting zeros and we've got an FF. Now if that was at the start address of this RAM, which would be D5 zeros, then I would assume that it might not just be the RAM, it could be the selection of that RAM, you know, the write enable or the chip select or something, or the output enable. But the fact that we're getting it at a specific address here, you know, it started at D00000, whatever, 5 zeros, and then it's gone up sequentially all the way up to that address before it's hit a fault, shows that it's just a bad, well, hopefully a bad location within that SRAM. And as I say, it's the upper SRAM. So the next thing I need to do is just double check, because I always get confused as which one's the upper, which one's the lower. So I'll clarify that in a second. We'll just do some measurements on the multimeter there, and we should be able to easily work out whether it's the which chip is upper, which one's lower. Yeah, it took me a while to find it there. I was getting confused. So it's the third pin up here, and it connects to the fifth one here, I think. 1, 2, 3, 5. Yeah, so and it's going to be the same over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so these are the upper chips. So this is a 1FZ, and I think it's the same on the 1A, the MV1A I've been looking at. So the easy way to remember it on these boards here is the upper. You think of the opposite. These are the lower chips if you think about it, but they're actually the upper, and those are the lower chips. So just, yeah, flip them around, think about it that way. You know, those are the lower, those are the upper. So I'm going to swap that chip. It would appear that that Sony one that was originally on here was probably okay. The other ones I'm going to bin because they've been in this position here. It needs redoing anyway because it's a bit crooked. Can you see that? It didn't go on perfectly straight. But yeah, I'll use the hot air to remove that now. And we'll get one of these brand new Liontech chips on there. So the board is off the ground here. And we'll just go around in circles. Yeah, gently does it. There we go, pad's cleaned, and we'll get a new chip on there. Quite possibly the worst angle I can give you. It looks awful. There, all I've done is got some flux on, so we'll just get a bit of solder on there, and just do a bit of drag soldering. remove the excess from the corners in a minute, because the corners on that one there, you know, there was just too much solder. So we'll tidy it up. Well, once I've got it working, I'll tidy it up. There's no point in spending ages making sure it's nice and cosmetically tidy at this point. I want to get it working first. I'm using the good flux now. Actually, my replacement chip quick arrived. There we go, that's the new chip on. As I say, I'll remove the excess solder in the corners, points and things in a minute, and we'll clean up this whole area, because you can see, look how dirty it is. I'll IPA and cotton swab and toothbrush the whole area. But let's give that a go now and see what's happening now. Ah, the joy. Now, the interesting thing is now, the address 0, you know, the start of the backup from there, D5 zeros, actual 0, expected 5555. That shows to me now that we've made some progress. We've probably fixed the RAM issues, and I think we've got a problem with selection there. So, you know, it could be a write enable or something like that. I think. So I'm going to probe around the 74HC32. I'm sure I already did that, but we'll do that anyway, just to double check. Maybe check the 259 out. And I might have to clean up around the Neo C1 actually, because it looks a bit dirty around there. Maybe we've got a faulty C1. So the HC32 looks okay. I mean, I can show you an example of that in a minute. All you do is, you know, connect up your logic probe, and the first pin is an input, the second pin's an input, and then you've got the third pin's an output. And it's an OR gate. Each one of these has got OR gates around it. So you're looking for, you know, what a high on either input will give you a high on the output, and that's exactly what I'm seeing all the way around. Now the Neo C1, just have a look at that. That looks like someone swapped that to me in the past. The telltale signs, can you see around the edges here? It's got like some flux or heat markage, call it what you will, around the outside, and the pins just look really dull and awful. So yeah, so I think I'm going to clean around with IPA and then use the toothbrush and IPA, and then just inspect it super close. Yeah, so I cleaned around it with cotton buds and IPA, but we'll just pour a bit of IPA around it. And just have a bit of a brush in and out of the pins if we can. Now, I've just checked all of the connectivity around the HC32. Now, there was a bad, like some corrosion there on pin 2, and it took a lot of flux to reflow that, but after doing that and testing the connectivity, it's all okay. So it's left me with a dilemma actually of considering three possibilities. Two, I think, are the main two that I'm thinking of here. One of them is that the HC32 is faulty. Let's hope, you know, fingers crossed that's the issue. Even though it looks okay with the logic probe, it's, you know, the problem is in the state it's in now. You know, if I probe it, you see we've got highs on all the inputs. Well, not on all the inputs, but on each one of the gates there. So you're going to get a high. What I'm not seeing is a scenario where we would get a low. So I can only see that, yeah, it's working with the static inputs it has now in the state it's in. But at the point this test was running, when it was trying to write those values there, that HC32 might not have been working correctly. So that's the theory. So I'll swap out that next. But beyond that, I've tested the connectivity there to the C1, you know, because there are some inputs from the C1 there for the write enables, and those are okay. The connectivity's there. We've cleaned around the C1. So if it's not the HC32, I suspect it's going to be a faulty C1, unless there's maybe a bad trace or connection around the C1 that's affecting its addressing, you know, so that it's not switching at the right time and stuff. And that's a possibility. The other theory is maybe the 259, because we saw there was a failed gate on the 04 there. I'm wondering if the latch, you know, the 259 is faulty again. So I can have a look at that as well. But in the first instance, because there was some corrosion under the HC32, I'm going to remove that. HC32 removed. I don't have a high level of confidence this is going to fix it. I mean, it'll be fantastic if it does, but I just suspect we're going to end up with a faulty C1. So pad's cleaned up. I'll get one of these brand new 32s on there. let's give it a try. I'm probably going to cry if this doesn't work, because it's going to be the C1. Oh yes, sweet, fantastic. I am super hyped that that's worked. So we'll test some games, I think, on that now. I think that's solved it. Having said that, I need to test out the Z80. Although I think I tested some games earlier with sound. But we'll connect the DIAG cards up, you know, the M1 test ROM there, and we'll just test the Z80. So holding down D when we power it up, you'll see it did some Z80 tests there. All tests passed. Sweet. But this is another fixed one. Yeah, I think we can call this one a success. Just testing with that awful speaker again. So that HC32 was the final part of the problem there. And it's interesting, it was stuck in high outputs, but because there were at least a single high on each gate's input, you've got no way of telling that's faulty. You'd have to test it on a logic analyzer, go do a capture and wait until you've got a situation where you've got no highs. You shouldn't have any highs on the outputs at that point, and you would have seen a high on that OR gate. So yeah, definitely the fault. The 04 might have caused that, because there was a fault with the 04, as I showed right at the start of the video. But it did have bad RAM as well. Bit of metal slug.
Mission 1, start.
I'm really pleased the C1 wasn't faulty, because that would have been annoying, let's say. What a viewpoint. Sweet. We'll remove the excess solder on the corner points here. Clean up anything on the underside. There's a cap, actually, I'll show you if I can find the thing. Can you see there? The top of that cap has been sheared off, it's been broken. There's no cap there. So I'll replace that with a 100 nanofarad cap. And I'll post a link to this diagram I did in the previous video again. This was super useful on this one, because it just saved me so much time being able to check the connectivity here between the RAM and the HC32 and the C1 and stuff, and then the additional checks and things that I mentioned down here as well. So the board's looking a lot cleaner now. I'm just going to do my usual thing of, well, free up that glue. This was a tip I learned from Volta, actually. Just put a cotton bud with some IPA onto hot glue. And then it just peels off. See that? It's come straight off. So yeah, thanks to Volta for that. So what I need to do is scratch an area of the can here, all around in different angles, and then we'll just get a bit of flux on there and a bit of solder. Try and scratch that bar as well, and just solder it on. Certainly on the 1FZ, but I've started doing it on all these boards that I come across, as I've mentioned a number of times. You don't want to heat for too long. Now the bar is not being conductive here. You know, the solder is not flowing onto that little metal bar across the top, so that's going to need some scratching up, actually. It's kind of a bit corroded. And if you're not getting a great join, just add a little bit of some decent flux on there, and that will make all the difference in getting a bite. There we go, got a good join there now. Just let that cool down. You need to be careful with crystals though, because too much heat can actually crack the crystal inside. It's a bit like ceramic caps. They do say that the shorter you heat ceramic caps, you know, certainly SMD ones, the better. And if you're wondering why, it's because of thermal expansion. You know, you imagine anything when it gets hot generally expands. So if you've got a crystal in there and it's tightly packaged inside that, you know, metal can, too much expansion too quickly, and it can crack. Anyway, that's that done. We'll deal with that cap on the underside that I showed you. So yeah, I'm just going to heat both sides with the solder iron at the same time, just remove whatever remnants are there, and then just get a bit of flux on there and put a 100 nanofarad cap in place of that. Yeah, it's that one. Yeah, add a bit of solder. Yeah, it's coming off already. It's in bits. That the centre's gone, so you can see we'll just wipe that away on my sponge there. Just go over that again, just make sure there's nothing there and there isn't. Just tap it on the board there. Yeah, so I've got it in position with a magnifying glass, and then try and hold it down by just pressing it like that, and solder one side. That's it. And then a little bit of solder. Get some on there. Yeah, a little bit of solder, and then just dab into the other side. So, if your blob is too big like mine is, just add a tiny little bit of flux, and just reflow it, and the solder should level off somewhat. There we go, that's done. There we go. I'll give you a close up of that. And there we go, you can see the cap I've just replaced, you know, it's a different colour to the others, but yeah, 100 nanofarads. Sweet, yeah, that's working. Tested all the controls out, they're all fine. The board's been cleaned up, I'll give you a final look in a sec. So there we go, all done. My Unibar's label went a funny colour actually as a result of the IPA. I should have removed that chip before cleaning it. But as you can see, it's a lot cleaner now. You can see the work I've done on these chips here. I levelled off the solder on the corners. Yeah, it looks pretty good actually. And the HC32 over there, that's obviously been replaced as well. And the 04. So yeah, a combination of 3 lots of faults with this. It did have a faulty 04. I think both SRAMs were faulty, and we had a faulty HC32. But yeah, it's come out pretty clean, that fully functioning. Thanks for watching, I'll see you soon.